Now here's the Banshee coming up. And one thing to note about why we like this sort of Banshee opening is because if our opponent doesn't have any sort of anti-cloak, if he doesn't have cannons, if he doesn't have the observers, he literally loses immediately. It's one of these auto-win styles. In fact, Jinro was saying to me that anytime he's up against a Protoss player and he's already made one barracks and one factory, if he scouts him and sees a starport going down at all, he literally immediately just builds a starport with a tech lab, and often he can end the game immediately. But again, notice what's so nice about what I'm saying. You can end the game immediately, but if the Banshees don't work, you just put them into your army and you have a bolstered army, because again, they do so much damage to ground. Look at Protoss just adding on his warp gates. This is like classic American style Protoss. You know, the, hey, my Void Ray Rush didn't work. Well, gee, I guess I better get 4 gateways and try to just kill him that way. So some more little pushing action going on. Trying to snipe the supply depots, which I really like a lot. It's just a general tactic. And some nice micro with the Void Rays. Again, part of the reason why people are like, oh, Void Rays should be nerfed. The fact that you can control them so well. But this is a little bit of an unusual style when looking at the American servers in particular. This getting of the fast starport to get these units out. And here come the Banshees. And yeah, look, marching right in there. Nothing that the Protoss can do about it, because he just has absolutely no protection. And these will happily get picked off. Meanwhile, hey, look, bunker, completely defensive, not really much that can go on. Again, another very Korean thing to do, a very Asian-style server thing to do, to get this reactor up, to favor a ton of Marines, long before we even get any tech lab up. You know, we over at the US server, and especially on the Europe server as well, love getting a much earlier tech lab, so that way we can get all the Marauders, get all the upgrades, all that good stuff. And look at Protoss. Well, maybe if I get this unit and try to attack again, maybe that'll work. Third time's a charm, no? No, in fact, third time is not the charm. Staying alive is the charm. And of course, all good things come to an end. Banshees eventually run out of energy, but this sort of harass is super potent. And still more Banshees being made. And look, Hellions, everything being possibly pumped out. Stim going down early. If you tech really fast with these Banshees, you have the advantage of having all this gas build up, so then you can get upgrades like Stim a lot earlier. And because you've started the your build by getting all these Banshees, your opponent's already made a decent amount of the anti-air, has made a decent amount of stuff that makes him passive. I mean, look at how passive Protoss is right now. He pretty much is committed to just sitting back and not really doing anything. And that is the perfect opportunity to get a ton of Stim. So here come yet more Marauders, and notice that, oh goodness, when I start making barracks, my gas builds up. So a Raven gets built. Oh my god, as if Nex wanted this to be the most educational game ever. He is in fact making the Raven to just sort of demonstrate how this resource distribution works out. Again, it's intuitive. I want to begin making Marine Marauder, and my gas builds up. Oh cool, I have a unit producing structure that builds the gas. I really think that for Terrans, this one of each building will become probably the standard. Because, I mean, there's just without add-on from each of them, you have a great deal of versatility. So here comes the nice push. Notice how these Banshees are just popping in to be part of it, and how this Viking popped in and just ended up dying immediately. So be careful with your Vikings. Never hug cliffs in Starcraft II. It's so dangerous to hug cliffs without some sort of Mondo Vision upgrade. Really, all units should always be as far away from a cliff at all points in time as possible. And this little attack is super effective because Protoss pretty much had to keep all his units like here, so that way he could deal with any sort of Banshee stuff. And now look at Terran just happily cruising up there. The Hellion is a little bit of an added bonus. This is I wouldn't say a fundamental component of this army. And then look, the Stim finishes. God, that's such a fast Stim. Doing a little bit more damage, this Void Ray is, you know, killing off all these Marines. Oh no, it looks like the attack has failed, but really, we pushed Protoss back a ton, going to this unit counting station. Notice how Protoss is just dead broke in terms of food, and Terran is just happily macroing his little heart out, and he has a Raven, so that's great. Just super, super easy, straightforward play. Again, another extraordinarily Asian-style play, getting 2 reactors first. A lot of Americans and Euros, again, favor more tech labs to get those higher Marauder numbers, but people are increasingly viewing the Marauders as a support unit, something that you can use the concussive shell to slow, the thing that you can use to do a little bit of extra damage from long range against those Stalkers and the sort, but really, the Marines are going to be the bulk of your army force. We don't see any sort of extra research yet. A lot of Asia players are favoring the combat shield before the concussive shell upgrade. And the point of this is to highlight all these differences, just to point out sort of how the styles have converged to different things. So you can sort of add a little bit of spice into your own play however you feel. I mean, for instance, if you want to do this Marine Marauder composition, and you've never favored these reactors before, you can start doing it and going, wow, yeah, Marines really do a lot of damage, but they're dying sort of early. So yeah, I guess I really do need to get that combat shield upgrade. Or, you know, likewise, on the American servers, you go, wow, yeah, I really need to, if I get a ton of tech labs, I really desperately need that concussive shell upgrade early, because then that will allow me to kite my Marauders a lot more easily. I can do micromanagement a lot more easily, so just things to note. And again, what's so interesting about all this is that this looks a little bit, it looks normal-ish. You know, you hear me say things like this is very stereotypically Asian server play, getting this double reactor, but for the most part, it's infantry. A Marine Marauder against a Protoss, that's normal, but the fact is that it opened with this one of each thing style, and because we got the starport up early, we have plenty of gas to get Ravens. We could even get 1 or 2 Ravens and then back up to the gigantic medevac production style. And here comes the delay of the inevitable, the standard I'm going to force fields. That way you can't quite beat me, but I'll eventually mine myself out and figure out a way to lose anyways, and that's fine. Just happily let him mine out. And I love the fact that Terran's just sort of oh man, I don't know if anyone saw that, but /dance. Would you guys just rock out a little bit for me? Oh, he's force fielding the ramp. What do I do in my spare time? Da-dum-bum-bum-ba-da-da-dun-da-da. Again, next, just really helping me with my entertainment value and the educational value. Phenomenal when we do have next, or excuse me, Snowkiss. Trying to do an emergency steal on the bottom location, and you've heard me say a little bit about, you know, Protoss's techniques, how this is pretty much what Protosses have been doing nowadays, this many warp gate with a Void Ray sort of emphasis in there. But if you're ever really behind in any situation and you don't know what to do, taking gigantic risks like this, like expanding to someplace that's hidden, like here are the islands, is actually a very good way to hop back into the game. Not a stable way to hop back into the game at all, but let's say you've lost the lead and the game is just pretty much gone. The only way that you're going to end up swinging way back into the lead is to take big risks. And obviously you're never going to have your front busted if you do something like this. Oh, wow, that was so awesome. Oh my god. That is such a brilliant force field. Now this is some just very nice tactical use by Protoss. Just locking everything there. Look at that. Oh my god. I mean, the focus of this was to just talk more about Terran play, because it's basically been Terran week on the Day 9 Daily. And this is just beautiful play. I cannot believe how amazing that was by Protoss. Unfortunately, Terran has another army and is still doubling the food of his Protoss opponent. But still, that was cool, and I should give him quite a lot of credit for that nice play. And notice that Stalkers in small numbers against Marine Marauder is not close. Oh god, getting a Ghost, adding insult to injury. And again, note that if you do get Ghosts, it also eats into your Marauder production. Again, completely Marine-centric. No combat shield yet. I think that is a gigantic blunder, but not the biggest deal when you're doubling your opponent's food. So I'm happily going to speed this game up, and so that way we can just bounce right into the next game coming up here. And of course, Terran beginning to do the mass expand thing, building another command center. God, this Terran player really just wants to hurt this Protoss. Really just wants to demonstrate that no matter what you do, I'm going to be dancing with my units. I'm going to be building command centers on you. This might be Gogo we're watching play. Poor little Gogo, who cheated brutally. In the, for any of you who don't know about the Korean pro gamer match fixing scandal, like half the players on the Height Sparky's team just like were rigging matches for money, so that's a big no-no. And of course Snowkiss not rigging his match, clearly, just doing the usual strategy. And his Terran opponent just executing this very clever style that just involves that just involves getting all the tech structures up. And I want you to think about that period right when the Void Ray came out. Well, you had time to think about that, and I had time to rehydrate. There's this big problem that, especially a lot of inexperienced players have, where when they are trying to do a new strategy, and let's say they've been struggling against Void Rays, let's say that's the issue, they devise a style of play that kind of